Hey, it's Jazz at Red Panda Reads, and today we are going to discuss my all-time favourite party games. Woo! And plot twist, these aren't them. Well, 2 of them are included in my list of 8. Guess which ones they are. But in all honesty, I went through all my party games and I was like, damn, I do not have that many, and I do not have many of my favourites. And I think pre-pandemic, if some of your best friends had fantastic party games, there was no point me buying the party game as well because they already had them, and vice versa. So I realised all the best party games are owned by my bestest friends, basically. And sadly, during the pandemic, we haven't been able to play them, and I'm really looking forward to, in kind of the not so distant future, to be able to go out and play these games again. But what I very much hope is that many of you are now getting the opportunity to see friends and play games. I all hope you're being very safe and wearing masks when appropriate and getting your vaccine, because remember, it's not just about you, it's about other vulnerable people. But basically, I thought I'd share with you some of my favourite party games so you can go and have a great time playing party board games with your friends. So let us jump right in. So number 1, we're going to start with the Paranormal Detective. I actually discovered this game during lockdown and played it with my partner Rob, but I so want to play it with a bigger crowd. Basically, it is a deduction board game where someone plays the ghost, who is someone who has recently died, and the rest of you are detectives and you're trying to work out how the ghost died. But you're paranormal detectives, you can speak to the dead and the ghost can speak to you to try and communicate exactly what happened. So each detective has their own opportunities to communicate to the ghost, and the ghost communicates back. However, the ghost can only communicate in certain ways, such as through a Ouija board, or via tarot cards, or via possessing the paranormal detective and taking control of their hand to draw a picture, or a 2-second charade. And from all these very fun, silly clues, you have to work out what happened to the ghost, and the first detective to work it out wins. So I am such a big fan of this game. It's for 2 to 6 players, and I just cannot wait to play it with more people. And I reckon in a big group you could actually split up into teams, and that kind of different interpretation within a team could be really funny. So 10 out of 10, fun board game, would highly recommend. I mean, it's on my top 8 party board games, so obviously I'm gonna recommend it. Next up we have Scrawl, and this is a game for adults because it's a little bit rude, but it's a little bit fun. And Scrawl is basically a combination of Chinese whispers and Pictionary consumed into a ridiculous board game. So each of you gets a different prompt, so it could be anything from demon ovens to banana hammock. I thought a banana hammock was a hammock made of bananas. So you can get any clues like that, and you get your clue, and on a little whiteboard you have to draw that clue, and then you pass it on to the next person, and the person looks at that picture and they have to guess what your prompt was, and then they write on another whiteboard and clip it over the top what they think the prompt was. You then pass it on, and the next person sees what the last person thought the prompt was, so then draws a new image for that prompt, and so on until it gets back to the original person and they see what the final image or final prompt is and whether it matches up with the original prompt. And it is so much fun. It is supposedly for 4 to 8 players, but I have played it in a group of 20, and you just team up, and it is ridiculous and hilarious. It is such a fun, like, New Year's Eve silly game with your friends, so I would play that. Next up, I have more of a family, but I still love playing it with friends board game, and this is the Hive. No, this is Beehive. No, this is Hive Mind. In Hive Mind, you are lots of little bees doing your thing within the beehive, and because you're bees, you all want to be in sync. So each go, someone picks up a card and they read a question. For example, name 5 small red things, and then everyone has to write down in secret 5 small red things, and then you get points depending on if anyone else has said the same as you. You basically want to say the same as everybody else, and the bee that does the worst basically goes down in the hive. And what's really sad about this game is there technically is no winners, there is just losers, because the game ends once one or more bees leave the hive because they have been rejected by the queen because they're not in sync with all the other bees and therefore are worthless, and so they're gone. And so there are just losers, and yeah, there are just losers. But I adore this game. I like word games where you have to kind of try and think how other people are going to answer and adjust based on that. And sometimes it works really well, but sometimes it backfires. And sometimes when you know one person particularly well, you two might choose similar things, but everyone else chooses something different. And you really don't want to like be on a first date and playing this game with someone's family, because you're very likely to have not a clue what the others are going on about, but that could be quite funny. So that is Hive Mind. And may I add, it is for 3 to 12 players. So next up we have a game which is kind of the opposite to Hive Mind, and that is Scattergories. Scattergories. I think this has almost broken friendships, this game. You basically split up into teams, or you can work individually, and you have a number of different prompts, and someone rolls a dice which has almost every letter of the alphabet on it, and then you have to think of an answer to each prompt beginning with whichever letter was rolled on that dice. And you have a time limit, and the thing that makes this game kind of diabolical and kind of why I love it is the bit when you go through everybody's answers, because you want to both get a point for answering, but your answer needs to be different to everybody else's, otherwise you don't get the point. And sometimes there is a lot of debate about whether people's answers are actually valid ones. And there was this amazing occasion where the question was things you find in the sea, and the letter was B. And my friend said beds. And the wise thing here would have been like seabeds. Seabeds are a thing, they're in the sea. They didn't go down that path. They were arguing that you find beds in the sea from like shipwrecks and stuff, because there would be beds in the sea. And we just didn't let them have it, because technically, yes, someone could dunk a bed in the sea, but you don't just find a bed in the sea. But if they'd had seabeds, they would have got it, and they are still so angry about not getting that point. And I'm pretty sure Rob, my partner, was in that team, and I must say I'm not sure if Rob actually likes Scattergories, because he says it brings out a really horrible side to him, because he gets so competitive, and I mean, I love him regardless, but I find it really funny, but he just thinks it brings out the worst in him. But I think Scattergories is a really fun game, and it reminds me a little bit of Stop the Bus, which is a game you can just play with paper and pen that I played with when I was young. Let me know if you ever played that game. Scattergories is apparently Scattergories is only for 2 to 6 players, but I think that is if you're not teaming up, and it's a lot more fun if you go in teams. Top tip. So number 5, we have one of these games that I actually own, which I adore, and that is Hamsterrolle. That is Hamsterrolle. This is a balancing game where you basically need to get rid of all your different sized blocks by balancing it in this wheel that rotates. And yes, I know you want to see it because I want to get it out. Look at this wheel. Look at the pieces. So this will be balanced on the table, and there is always let me get the triangle out. There'll always be a triangle in there, and you always have to balance your pieces in front of where the last piece ends, and you can never put the 2 of the same coloured pieces between the same black blocks. And each of you has, I think, 6 different coloured pieces that weigh different amounts. And of course, as you put them down, it will roll and they will fall. And it is so much fun. Yeah, this is only for technically 4 players, but again, teamwork, and this is a party, and teamwork is fun in parties. So highly would recommend, and it is a lot of fun. And when the whole thing falls over and someone gets all the pieces, it is glorious. So yeah, also once, I'll see if I can find the picture and send it to you guys, but a piece got stuck upside down like this because it was the perfect shape and it was just wedged, so it literally went all the way around. So next up we have the mind. From an outsider, this is how it would appear. A group of apparently friends staring at each other in complete silence. Then someone plays a card. Silence. Someone plays another card and either silence or, why did you do that? That's higher than me. What did you think? That wasn't a good idea. Yeah, so that's the mind in a nutshell. Basically, you are trying to all play your cards in ascending order, and if someone plays a card which is higher than yours, you are all out of the game. In the first round, you have one card each, which will have any number between 1 and 100 on it. In the next game, you'll have 2 cards each, and so on and so forth, until someone gets you out from playing a card too early. So you've really got to judge at what point would I play my card? At what point is it appropriate to play a 99? How long do I wait? What is the odds that someone has higher? And this game is a little bit silly, but it is fun, and it's technically only for 2 to 4 players, but I played it with 6+, and it just makes it a little bit more chaotic, which I like in a game. Next up, we have another game which I have spent so many hours playing, and again, I have put all my trust into someone and then it's been shattered, and that game is Resistance. So Resistance is a social deduction board game where you're basically trying to work out who are the spies and who are the resistance. And the resistance are the good people and the spies are the bad people. I think it's that way round. We're just going to say it's that way round. As I said, I have not played a lot of these games for a long time because of the pandemic. But anyway, you have the resistance and you have the spies, and you're trying to work out who the spies are. And it's comparable to games such as Mafia and Werewolf, but the thing that's really good about this game is no one reveals who they are until the end of the game, and so nobody goes out. And you have multiple rounds, and each round the leader has to decide who they want to be on their team. And they have to try and work out who they think may be a spy and who might be resistance. And therefore they want to get the people on their team who are the resistance, and so the mission will pass. So how each round works is once the leader has chosen their team, each person decides whether they are going to put down a mission fail or a mission pass card. Put that in the centre, and if there is even a single failed mission card in that deck, the mission's failed. But of course you don't know which person played that card, and so it's trying to work out and kind of cross-reference to work out who are the good and who are the bad, so that you can make sure you have the good people on your mission so you can succeed. So that brings us to our final game, and it's one of these, and I'm going to very quickly go through why most of these do not go into my top. Anomia is a fun, fast-paced picture colour recognition game thing with words. A lot of fun. I will discuss that at a later date, but it's not as good as the others. On a scale of 1 to T-Rex, it is loud, it is boisterous, it is a little bit of a one-time wonder, as in I wouldn't want to play it that many times in one evening, but imagine making a lot of noise and being very silly. This is it. Codenames should not be a party game. This is a 2-player game in my non-professional board game opinion. Throw burrito, manic mayhem, chucking burritos at people. It is fun. Is there much skill or much thinking involved? No. Is it silly? Yes. Sometimes you want that. Slow as a sloth. Another guessing word game. Fun, silly, great. Man bites dog. Make news article titles. Again, fun, silly, mad. But hello, I've just discovered that my camera didn't record the last few minutes of my video, so I'm just going to wrap it up here because I filmed that about 5 days ago and, you know, not doing that setup again. So the last game that I was going to talk about is Articulate, which is a fabulous party game for friends, for family, and it's one of those games you can always go back to and have such a great time with if you know people well or if they're basically strangers. And Articulate is basically a game where you split up into teams and one of you has to describe as many things in 30 seconds as they can without saying the word that they're describing. For example, if the prompt was backbone, you would have to say it is a long white coloured thing in your back, also known as a spine. Backbone. Oh crumbs, I said back. See, that wouldn't have worked. I could have just said it's another word for the spine. You get it. It's late. I'm tired. I can't do this now. Anyway, Articulate is great. I hope you've enjoyed this video and let me know if you've played any of these games and what you think of them and what are your favourite party games. I also have a super exciting video coming out this Saturday because it is International Red Panda Day, and if you didn't know, I love red pandas, and also if you didn't know, those adorable cute little red things I showed earlier in the video are red pandas. So I'm super excited for that video and I'll see you guys then. Have a wonderful week and goodbye.